day, planet Earth. Michael Litton, the last DJ, host of Ride the Vibe, saying what he wants to say and playing what he wants to play, broadcasting from the beautiful studios, DRSATL. The owner, Wahid Gomes, executive producer of the show, consummate host, and running the audio for us on the show. And then it wouldn't be a Facebook Live show without the genius of Otis Tillman from Mississippi, the birth of music, as our guest has said. And thank the fellas, because I don't know how they pull it all together. We got Zoom, we got Facebook, we got all this technology of which I know nothing about, but thank God they do. So I'm just totally stoked to have Jonnie Harpo Hodson, Reverend Slackjaw, the soulful storytelling lead singer for not one band, but two bands, both Greylock and the Headhunters Blues Band, coming all the way from the UK. Jonnie, welcome.
How's it going, man? Yeah.
Or I should say good morning, because I believe you just flipped over the witching hour.
Just about, man. Yeah, the witching hour, as I like to say, man. Yeah. This is my time when I'm most awake, man. If you want to get a good vocal take out of me, now's the time to do it. So
the stereotypic musician, right? Late night.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, you know what? The management called us for something recently. It was 10. It was 2 in the afternoon. I said morning. He said it's 2 in the afternoon. I said it's morning for a musician.
You're on a different time schedule. Well, Jonnie, welcome. Totally. And for your fans, those that are up, the way we roll Ride the Vibe is we do an old-fashioned music listening party. Back, harkening back in the day when we put albums on the turntable. For those out there that even know what those kind of things are, albums and turntables, all they're coming back, which is kind of cool. And we'd listen to the music, in its entirety. And I always thought at the time, man, wouldn't it be killer, if you had the artist in your dorm room or in your apartment, in college, where you could talk to them and say, what inspired that? So this is a kind of a dream come true for me. And the way we roll the shows, we're going to play 6 of your songs. We're going to play 3 videos and then a couple audio files. We're not playing them in their entirety, y'all, because we want you to go out and buy the CD. Don't just do the Spotify thing, because Jonnie and the Poor Musicians, as I understand it, if you download on Spotify, they're making 0.00331 cent per stream, and that's got to get split by artists, management, business managers, blah, blah, blah. And the only one making the money is CEO Fat Cat Daniel Elk, who Mike Mills tells to go F himself over his suggestion that artists just needed to release more to make more money. Yeah, right. So go out and buy Jonnie's stuff, the Greylocks and the Headhunters Blues albums. Don't just download it. But anyway, we're going to play some songs, and we're going to talk about the music. And we encourage listeners to sit back in the comfort of an environment of their choosing, have a beverage of their choice. In the studio, I'm featuring some sparkled water from a sponsor of ours, DrinkMate, a small startup out of Michigan. They'll take any beverage you have and sparkle it up. I just love this product and love the beverage. And I'm featuring it in a nice mug that my sweet sister gave me that appropriately says on it, enjoy the ride. Whoops, I got to get that framed up. Enjoy the ride. So, Jonnie, cheers.
Yeah, you too, brother. You know what? It makes anything fizzy.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a thing you want to test out. Can you imagine fizzy milk?
No, that might not be good. But you can fizz some white wine. So if you're looking for a way to celebrate your engagement, which was in 2017, we verified the year now to Jessica.
Yeah. The boss told me. Yeah.
The boss told you. So I need you to unpack the Harpo, the Reverend Slackjaw. Talk about those monikers.
Well, man, the Slackjaw thing now. There's for the Headhunters, man. We've had a bunch of people come through the doors, and we've got a pretty solid lineup now. We've just got a new drummer, and he was asking about the nicknames. Guitar plays Big Bill Ryden, bass plays Blackjack Scully, the keys plays Johnny Wildfingers Wishart, and I'm Slackjaw Jonnie. The rule is that you can't nickname yourself. You can't kind of, give yourself the name.
Yeah.
and I was playing with a guy, a killer kind of country blues guy from Liverpool called Tom Croft, and he called me Slackjaw once, and I was like, "That's perfect. I'm keeping it." Yeah. But I am an ordained reverend. Yeah. I'm an ordained reverend. Yeah, yeah. I mean, not a proper one, like like internet ordination, But I am an ordained reverend. I can, but oddly enough, I can. I think it's more for the United States. I can marry people in 48 of the 50 states.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you done any marriages?
Not knowingly.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
That's
maybe at some point,
Yeah, and then the harpo. I think that's I think an obvious one, but just rather than make assumptions.
Oddly enough, harpo is because I don't really want to have Facebook. I've got to a point where I just don't kind of see the point in having a personal Facebook, and I only really have it for like the running of the pages, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I called myself Jonnie Harpo so people can't find me.
Oh. Well, I couldn't find you.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? Because somebody said, "Oh, is that because you play harp?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, it's I was watching the Marx Brothers."
I wondered if that was the other. Yeah.
Harpo Marx.
Harpo. Yeah. Killer. Yeah. But I figured it was one of the two, or probably a combination of both. But I'm glad you shared that with me.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. I love the Marx Brothers, man. That's
Groucho, and what a genius. I mean, just really.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple documentaries on him, and he really smart.
Those guys worked hard as well, man. Like they were proper hard working guys. There's a killer story about. Sorry to run off on a tangent.
Oh no, love it.
Chico, who played the piano.
Yeah.
When all the movies were silent movies, he'd get because when the movie theaters were, on every street corner. When they'd roll into town just to earn a bit of extra bread, he'd get a job playing the piano. Now, Harpo, his twin, could also play the piano, but only knew one song. So what Chico would do is he'd do a week playing the piano in one of these movie theaters. Then he'd go across the street and get a job in the other movie theater. And Harpo would go into the original theater and play the same song, just at different speeds, until he got found out and fired. And then they'd go zigzagging up the street in the town until they all got worked out. I thought that was killer, man. I thought that was fantastic.
I love that. That's
what a hustle. What a hustle.
Yeah, well, they were vaudeville. They grew up in the vaudeville. I mean, they hustled from a very very young age. They were on stage. Amazing story.
That's how Harpo went silent, innit? Harpo, his first time on stage, he just clammed up, and everybody loved it. He kind of went, "I reckon I could do this."
Perfect. Yeah, and get paid the same.
Yeah. Great.
That's
man. Love
brilliant.
It.
Well, I think we need to tee up a little "Shine on Me," which is your current Greylock single, and we're going to do that in a video format, y'all, and then come back and chat about that. And we're only going to play a couple minutes again because we want you to go out and buy that album, and Johnny's going to let you know where you can get all that stuff in a minute after we hear the song. So let's cue that up if we could, fellas. Little "Shine."
Forgiveness.
Ride the Vibe with Jonnie Harpo, Reverend Slackjaw, frontman for Keylock. Talk about that single, the video, the backup singers, your bandmates, all of the above, Jonnie.
Oof. You know what, man? That band came together in early 2018. We started, me and Aaron started jamming. I think me and him were both, I'd just kind of in the process of leaving a band, or I'd just left a band that I'd been 6 years, and I'd put my heart and soul into it, and I think I kind of lost my way a little bit with music, and I was feeling a little bit cooked. Yeah. And I think he'd done the same thing. He'd always led a band. He'd sang previously, and he was kind of looking for a singer, and I was kind of not really looking for the next thing I was going to do. I was kind of, do I keep doing this or whatever? And then we started starting writing music together, kind of offered our souls to each other, if you like. And Shine On Me was one of the earlier tunes we wrote. The first single we put out, Coming Home, that was, I think, the first song we probably wrote together. But Shine On Me was in those early sessions, certainly. But I was singing that chorus line. I was walking around, let it shine, shine, shine. And I rang him up and I said, "What's this, man? Have I heard this in your car? Or is this what is it?" And he went, "That's yours, I think." I was like, "Oh shit, man." Well, we better write a song around the rest of that, And then he sent me some chord ideas over in a pre-chorus, and then it all just kind of slotted together real quick. And then then management suggested that as the second single. And then the video we recorded at Winter's End Festival, man, which we did just before we went into lockdown. Yeah. And we got Essay and Sister Sheena on the harmony vocals. Nice. Essay's got her own band, man. Essay and the Voodoo People. She's killer, man. You should check that out.
Yeah, I'd love to have her on the show. You'll have to pass the word.
You should do that, man. Yeah, she's excellent, man. She's
very nice. And that's Aaron Greylock is
Keylock.
Keylock, rather. Excuse me.
Yeah. He had a thing going on his own. He toured with Black and Smoke.
Yeah.
All this kind of thing, and I think he kind of, I think he felt like he'd taken himself as far as he could with that kind of lineup. Yeah. And then we put a band together, man, and we searched high and low for the right players,
and you've got Tom Carter and Joe Major and Connor.
Yeah. We just found the best guys we could, and they're from all over the country. The drummers from way up in the northeast. Yeah. Tom is from somewhere from Middle Earth, I think. And Connor's from East London. And we just the traveling rock and roll circus, man. We get together and we make all this crazy music, man. It's beautiful.
Well, you and I talked about it in the run up to the show, but I referenced. I wondered if that name had any bearing or had any genesis in the Joe Cocker Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour, because and that's a great video, great DVD for those that are fans of Joe Cocker and who wouldn't be.
What a voice, man! Yeah, what a singer!
Unbelievable. And they build themselves Mad Dogs and Englishmen. English rock singer Joe Cocker and 42 musicians, girlfriends and children, and they had pets too, a communal rock and roll circus. And the lineup, for those that don't know, I mean, Joe Cocker, that's good enough, but then you got Leon Russell, Chris Staten on keyboards, who's toured with Clapton all the time, Carl Rattle, Jim Price, Bobby Keys, Jim Gordon, Jim Keltner, Rita Coolidge. I mean, so good moniker for you guys.
Yeah, I think what I think we wanted to kind of channel is that we're taking rock and roll back a little bit, take a step back to take two steps forward, if you like. Because I don't think in the UK there's a lot of it going on, that really rootsy rock and roll. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it's called blues rock, and I've got a bit of an issue with stuff being called blues rock, because rock without blues isn't rock. Yeah. So it's all blues rock, you know what I mean? So it's got the blues has to be in there, otherwise it isn't rock and roll. So we just wanted to do that kind of like that, like a ragtag Mad Dogs and Englishmen kind of vibe, yeah.
Wow. You've got it. Well, what's the situation like for getting back out on the road? How's it looking over there in the UK?
Not for a while, I
Yeah.
don't think. We got together last week to do some demos, probably for an EP. I couldn't tell you when it's going to be out. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you what's on it.
Yeah.
I haven't. That bit's out of my hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got together last week to 4/5 of us, the keys players out in Spain, because he's from Middle Earth, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so we got together to kick around some new music, man, and it was just a kind of big, fantastic release of energy getting together.
Yeah, because it's been so. Well, I love my sister to death, but she sent me an article today that depressed me. It was in the Tennessee Lookout. Nashville music industry on the brink of calamity. Ask government for help. And you know, one of the quotes in here I thought was kind of fascinating. This was the owner of the club Exit Inn, which is a big one up in Nashville, and he said you have to explain to people who say, "Well, why don't you just pivot?" Because there is no pivot option. And what he meant by that is, you know, unlike restaurants, they can't. You all can't do takeout. You can't deliver beverages. You can't have the food delivered. You know, none of that's possible. And the dilemma, as you know, it is the beautiful thing was getting together a lot of people in a small club with folks up on stage saying loud stuff, you know, spewing out a lot of music. And so it may be a while, and it's just a bloody shame.
Yeah, well, somebody said to me today, actually, why don't you just, like, because the social distancing gigs coming back, why don't you just do one of them? It's like, what's the fucking point? You know, like, because the idea is that if you've got a, especially with stuff like with the headhunters, man, if we go to some of those blues clubs, they hold 50 people.
Right.
What's the point in having 20 people? You know what I mean? Like, because the club's not making any money.
No,
the band, therefore, doesn't get, you know, the money it needs to travel about. And you can't put a tour together on that either.
No.
Like, there's, we had to pull a gig in November because it was like a socially distanced thing, and to make it work we'd have to go and we'd have to play the night either side. So if it's a Saturday, we'd have to play the Friday and the Sunday, and it's just not happening, you know. It's just not possible at the moment. And the idea is socially distanced kind of leaves me cold, man. It's kind of negates the idea of playing live.
So it's even more important, y'all. Please go out and support these musicians. Buy their albums, buy their CDs. We're not able to go see them because they're not performing, so they're not making any money. So we got some money in our pockets. Let's spend it and support them, because it's tough for them. Because really, that's where you make your money. You're not making it from Spotify, the streams. You know.
No.
So it's got to be.
I love the way that this guy's also like demanding that you go write more music. You know, like what? Like it's. I'd rather have a like it's because everything's disposable, man. Everything's plastic, and we'll just throw it away. And it's that's a crazy world we live in, man. I didn't think music could get to that point where it was so disposable and just so kind of, this one's broken, let's get a new one.
Soulless,
and it really is, isn't it, man?
Except for Keylock and the Headhunters Blues Band. So we're going to take just a short break to support our gracious sponsor, DRSATL. And for all you musicians out there, they've also got a cool value proposition. Got a little boutique publishing that Wahid can talk to you about if you're looking for another revenue stream. So anyway, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back talking with Jonnie Hodson, Harpo.
DRS provides professional audio mixing and mastering services. They also provide other creative services such as voiceover editing, audio restoration, and audio forensics. They have great customer service, their work is fast and efficient, and their prices are affordable. You can learn more about their creative services by visiting them on the web at DRSATL.com. Again, that's DRSATL.com, or call them at 404-590-0779. Again, that's 404-590-0779. DRS, when the right sound matters.
And they are the bomb, DRSATL. Wahid, just a consummate host and executive producer of the show, and wouldn't be a Ride the Vibe without him. So I hope you musicians will think about supporting him in his studio. So Jonnie, talk about when you recognized you had a passion for music?
I think where to start? I think I was on holiday with the family. I was on a vacation with the family, and we went to a car boot sale. And my dad picked up a cassette of the Sweets' greatest hits.
Yeah.
Remember those cassettes? You'd have to put the
Yeah.
pyro in them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
run back.
I had 'em.
Great, man, love them.
Yeah.
And and I was I think he kind of bought it as a bit of a joke, like a throwback to me, for me mum and dad.
Yeah.
And he put it on in the car, and I think the first track was Ballroom Blitz. And I was just like, oh, what's going on here? Because I don't think popular music had really done anything for me. I can't really remember any popular music from when I was a kid.
And the Sweet cassette, how old were you, Jonnie?
7.
Wow. And it just hit you.
Yeah, I think so. And then I got really into the Sweet. And then about a year later, maybe a year, my dad kind of went, well, if he likes the Sweet, he'll like Queen.
Yeah.
And so we got me a couple of Queen CDs, and I did. I was really into Queen. I mean, I was a mega Queen fan.
Yeah.
And then in 2005, Queen toured with this guy called Paul Rodgers. And I remember my dad telling me, oh, Queen are going on the road. And I was like, well, who's singing? Is it Brian and Roger? And my dad was like, no, this guy called Paul Rodgers now. And who's Paul Rodgers?
Yeah.
And if your dad goes, all right now, feel like making love. And I was like, oh, I don't care who this guy is. I'm going to go see Queen.
Yeah.
And they opened with like a semi-acoustic track thing. And then they opened like the set properly with Tie Your Mother Down. And the rest of the world fell away completely. It was my closest experience of kind of finding religion. I think it was like meeting God.
Just a seminal moment for you. The world changed for you.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure it was like May the 5th or 6th, 2005. Wow. I was on the back row of the Manchester Arena. I was closer to Freddie Mercury than I was to Paul Rodgers. I was that high up in the gods. And honestly, seeing Paul Rodgers that night was it. I was like, well, he's the coolest man in all the world, and I need a slice of that.
Yeah.
And then I went and kind of followed the path. I followed it back into free stuff and Bad Company stuff, and then it took me a little while, but I got to Muddy Water Blues, and everything started to kind of, all the building blocks started to kind of
layer.
fit into.
Wow.
Before
we get into Muddy Waters, Jonnie, talk about your story of sneaking in to see Paul Rodgers.
Yes. So I went to see. It was quite an intimate gig, and I paid my money, to get into the gig, and there was a kind of meet and greet this way sign. So I was like, right, okay. Well, those security guys look like they want to go home. Yeah. So I kind of just puffed my chest out and kind of just, all right, fellas, how's it going? And just walked straight past them and joined the back of the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission, isn't it?
Sure, brilliant.
So I just joined the back of the queue, and I'd met Cynthia a couple of times, his wife, who was a wonderful, wonderful person.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you reckon, I wonder if she's going to get onto it and be like, you haven't got to get out, And I just kind of joined the back of the queue, and I try to look confident, and then I'm within feet of the guy, and I'm like, oh my God, he's real. He stood right there, Yeah. And I shook his hand, and I said, man, you're my Otis Redding, because he always says that Otis Redding taught him how to sing.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to go like punch me on the shoulder and go, I've heard that one before, kid.
Yeah.
Jog on.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh man, that's super nice. And I was like, oh my God, he's a real person. And then we just spoke music for about 20 minutes. I've met him a couple of times, man, and he's always just the nicest guy. He's always got good advice,
what a great mentor and connection to have, and role model. I mean,
I'll quite confidently tell you, and I think he is the best, probably the best singer I think to ever lived. I don't think there's anyone out there really that's as good as he is.
Wow.
that man's got soul for
Yeah.
days. You know, there's a few. I hold a few singers way up high,
Yeah.
but Paul Rodgers is a step up.
Is there?
more, like.
Wow. Well, and Otis Redding from our neck of the woods down in Macon, Georgia.
Oh yeah, man. The Otis Blue album, man. It's one of those perfect albums, isn't it? It's
And we share a common connection, and have to give a shout out to Lucy Pillar.
yes,
With All
absolutely,
Right
yeah.
Now Entertainment, who is probably second to you, maybe, or first to you, a Paul Rogers fan.
I
And-
think she beats me.
Yeah,
I
maybe a
think
little
she
bit.
beats me.
That's a
Yeah,
wise thing to say, Johnny.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
So
lo-
Lucy,
maybe-
if you're out there listening, thank you so much for the introduction to Johnny.
Yes, thank you very much. I actually think I met Lucy because of that sneaking into that meet and greet.
Ah.
Maybe I shouldn't say I paid Lucy. I paid all the money to meet him. I
Oh,
did it honestly.
she had organized it.
No, I don't think so. But I think it was after that I can't remember. I think Cynthia said, "Oh, get in touch with Lucy, and
Yeah.
Lucy will put us in touch and
Yeah.
with something." I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Via email. And I think that's how I got in touch with Lucy.
I
And I
love
think I've probably been pestering the poor woman ever since.
Yeah, she's such a delightful lady. As I say, the whole 7 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon, it's 2 to 3 degrees of separation
Yeah.
from every musician on the planet with Lucy Pillar.
Yes. Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta
I
love
think,
it.
you know what, actually, man, I toured with a fantastic guy called Marco Mendoza. He played with Thin. He played bass for Thin Lizzy. He played with Whitesnake. He played for the Dead Daisies.
Mm.
He's a fantastic solo artist. I toured with him. And that's kind of 3 degrees of separation. Like, he's friends with Steven Tyler. So
Yeah.
I say that I'm step friends with Steven Tyler.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like adopted friends. You know,
Yeah.
any friend of his is a friend of
friend of
mine.
yours,
Kind
of
of thing,
course.
'cause I'm
Why
his
not?
friend, you know.
You got a way
Yeah.
we roll it. Well, I think we
Yeah.
need to hear a little Coming Home, which was your debut key lock track, as I understand it. So let's hear
Yes.
Coming Home. That's in a video format. And again, while we're playing this music, you all go out and buy that CD from Johnny. And Johnny, where can they get what's the...
You know, it's currently all digital, man. So
is,
iTunes,
okay.
It's on all those digital platforms.
Yeah, okay.
There will be something physical soon, and hopefully
Good.
vinyl.
All right. So be on the lookout for that, y'all, and then buy it when it comes out. All right, let's hear a little Coming Home if we could, fellas.
Maybe another time or place. It's not the catch, it's the thrill of the chase. When you were so far away. This time I'm not messing around. I've spent too long just covering ground. Didn't think I was lost until I was found. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Will you be waiting for me, baby? You got to let me know. Coming home, I'm coming home. It's just another old song that I wrote for you. Gotta let you know that I'm coming home. Holding on to precious memories. I'm hoping you still remember me. If you don't, you will just wait and see. Standing on a platform again. Another night on a northbound train. Nothing's changed, but I know that it's not the same. Coming home, I'm coming home.
Love it. You are on Ride the Vibe with Michael Litton, the last DJ, playing what he wants to play and saying what he wants to say. And in this case, hanging out with Johnny Hodson from the UK, late now or morning over there, and listening to Greylock, their debut single, Coming Home. Talk about working with producer, and I'm going to butcher his first name, so I won't even try to do his nickname, Will Mayer.
That's all right. We can't pronounce it either.
Oh, good. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that.
I'm sure there's a video somewhere of our keys player trying to pronounce it and him just laughing at him. But yeah, Will's great, man, and Will produced stuff for the Answer, and Lucy knows those guys as well.
Yeah.
And because we share management with the Answer, and Cormac Neeson's one of my heroes as well, man. He's that guy. So if you haven't checked the Answer out or Cormac stuff, Michael, you really need to, because they are probably one of the last real bastions of rock and roll, I think.
Love it.
But yeah, it was good to work with him, man, because again, it was like a kind of tick off the list for me. You know what I mean? I'd bought all the Answers records every time an Answer record came out, I went and got one.
Yeah.
And then to kind of share a management with them, that was amazingly cool. And then to be in the studio with Will, who I've actually known for quite a while. He came up to Liverpool years ago, man, and I think I'd had him on Facebook just from seeing him on the the album now.
Yeah.
So to be in a studio with him finally was really good, man. And he's a killer producer, man. He likes to. I think it's fair to say that he's not got like a set way of working. He'll work with the artist as opposed to at the artist. You know what I mean?
There's a big difference there.
I think so, yeah, because a producer, I think, can really change how an album sounds, obviously, and I think he definitely got the best out of it as well, because we'd played a festival in Spain, actually, about a day before. We played a festival. We flew in, landed at Heathrow, and then went straight to the airport. It's the most rock and roll I've ever felt in my life.
You were immersed.
Yeah, literally. I don't think we were driven though. I think we actually got the tube, which was slightly less rock and roll, but and the air, the way the air circulates on planes, absolutely
terrible.
bollocks my voice.
Right.
And so we went in, and the idea was to do it all live. And I think I stepped up to the mic,
Whoops.
and I was like, I don't think this is happening today.
Yeah.
So the band recorded the tracks, and then I went and did the vocal takes, but we did them pretty quick, because I said to him, I don't like doing a million takes of the vocal.
Right.
It's because I think you lose the soul, and if you're not getting in one or two, I think it's probably best to
stay with that.
He was good with that.
Yeah.
He'd let me do a couple of takes, then have 10 minutes and do another take,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good experience, man, and that studio was beautiful as well. It was on like a little island in the middle of the Thames.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was. We did Coming Home and Shine at the same time.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was watching the lads recording Coming Home through the glass.
Yeah.
Because that's like 7.5 minutes, and you could see them all sweating as we're getting to the 7-minute mark, and nobody fucked this up. Like you don't want to be that guy, that drops the ball.
Right. It screws it up. Yeah. A lot of pressure. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it was good, man. Yeah. I love those boys, man. So just watching that video there, I miss them,
Yeah. Well, I want to take a short break to support a sponsor near and dear to my heart, Foundation for Premature. Easy for me to say, and I'm only drinking this sparkling water from DrinkMate. I got to do something. Foundation for Premature Infants, near and dear to my heart. And then when we come back, Jonnie, I want you to talk about releasing singles versus albums, and the way the music industry is now compared to the way it was. But we'll be right back. Just a short break here.
The number of premature infants born in the United States each year, 380,000. That's 9.8% of the total births in the U.S. The Foundation for Premature Infants' mission is to advocate for the right of all premature infants to be cared for in a developmentally supportive and age-appropriate manner. Our vision is to ensure that Premature Infants' Bill of Rights is the standard of care for all babies born prematurely, 24 hours per day, 365 days per year, on all shifts, in every neonatal intensive care unit throughout the world. Please consider making a donation by visiting us on Facebook, Foundation for Premature Infants, or at our website, foundationforprematureinfants.org.
You are back on Ride the Vibe. We're going to pick up where we left off with Jonnie Hodson. Jonnie, talk about, again, single versus album, your thoughts on that and the way the industry is now.
It's odd, man, because it's changed unprecedented.
Yeah.
Actually, is that a word? It's
Yeah.
changed so much. It's a lot more tactical now, I think, because because stuff like BBC Radio isn't, like mainstream radio isn't really relied on as much to release, rock and roll.
Yeah.
I think it's changed so much. Like I just want to get in the studio and make an album, and then 6 months later I want to make another one.
Yeah.
But I can, if you listen carefully, you can hear my management screaming somewhere, because it's like a game of chess.
Yeah.
Like when we put Coming Home out first, I was like, Coming Home first? Why not Shine? And they were like, no, Jonnie, what we've got to do is get them in, get them in on Coming Home, and then we'll give them Shine. And I was like, oh, okay. That's not how I'd have done it at all, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm not a manager. That's why
Yeah.
I'm a singer. But yeah, I think the next thing for Keylock will be an EP,
Yeah.
which is what we're demoing for now. We've got about 30 songs,
Wow.
which is a good pool to choose from.
Yeah.
And I want to put a cover on it, and whether they'll let us or not, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I want to we play a Motown song actually, man, by Edwin Starr. We play 25 Miles. Which
Oh,
is,
wow. Yeah.
one of my favorite songs. And again, man, what a voice,
Yeah.
And I've wanted to do 25 Miles as a rock and roll song
Yeah.
since I can remember hearing it about 10 years ago at a soul night in Liverpool somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember storming over to the DJ and saying, "Who's this?" And he's like, "It's 25 Miles by Edwin Starr." And I was like writing that down on my hand,
Yeah.
And I think it sounds killer as a rock and roll song.
Yeah.
And since the year Dot, man, good rock and roll bands I think have been releasing covers. Like
Yeah.
Free did the Hunter, of course, it's Albert King,
Right.
Led Zeppelin's
Well,
entire
I was going to
first
say,
album
yeah, a
is
lot of Led Zeppelin stuff is
a Muddy Waters,
right,
cover
right.
album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of
and A Whole Lot
Clapton
of Love
stuff.
is-
Yeah.
Of course, man, the Beatles, the Stones, all those rock and
right,
roll bands
Right.
release good covers.
Yeah.
And mainly from black artists as well, man. And
Yeah.
I want to kind of just tread that route as well. 'Cause,
Mhm.
that's where a lot of my listening lives.
I
So
love
thought
it.
it'd just be really cool to change something up
Yeah.
and see how it sounded as a rock and roll song.
Well, that's a good transition because we're going to switch gears a little bit and go to your other band. It's
Yes,
not, you can't just have one band. You got to be in all. You got to be in two bands.
No.
The Headhunters Blues Band, and it's been said of them. This is now a really top blues band, certainly amongst the top 10 in the UK, who are moving to a different level and firing so smoothly and easy on all 5 cylinders. Not sure who that quote was from, but very high praise. And I'd love to queue up, if we could, we're going to do this in an audio file, 24 Hours, Headhunters Blues Band.
A Muddy Waters tune.
Yeah,
Oh,
love
beautiful.
it, love it, love it, love it. And then we're going to
Beautiful.
talk a little muddy. We got to talk a little muddy.
Oh God, all day.
We're going to be right back. Stay with us. We're going to play this song and then talk about all things blues.
I met my baby last night. I was holding her here in my arms. Said I met my baby last night. I was holding her here in my arms. But she been gone 24 hours, and that's 23 hours too long. If I had $1 million, I'd pay every dime to bring her back home. My poor heart has been bleeding, so sad on being alone. She been gone 24 hours, and that's 23 hours too long. Well, I ain't going east, I ain't going west. Oh, I believe I'm north and south.
And that quote I cited earlier was from Jim Gillespie of the Potteries Blues Club. So shout out to Jim. And then Pete Best, former Beatle, said the band took him back to his youth. And that song was off your first, second album, The Great Migration.
Yes. You know what, man? The funny thing about the Pete Best story is we're playing on Matthew Street. We're just opposite the Cavern. And we're doing 2 45-minute slots. Yeah. And this guy, this silver-haired guy with a beard, and I'm like, I recognize you. Oh, I've probably seen you at a gig. Comes over and he's like, oh, this is great stuff, man. You know, oh, it really takes me back. And I'm like, oh, you dig all this stuff, man? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, killer, man. I'll catch you later. And then somebody said to me, that's Pete Best. I was like, I just met a fucking Beatle. I didn't even know, you know.
That's unbelievable. You kind of recognize him, but, you know, the years have gone by.
Yes, yeah. He was great. He was very nice as well, man. And high praise, you know, because they grew up on that music.
Talk about your connection to Muddy Waters, because it's deep. And, you know, 50-year anniversary, all the rest. Just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. The Muddy, again, man, Paul Rodgers really kind of focused my listening, I think. Because, you know, the Sweet and Queen are one thing, and it's great, you know what I mean? Like, especially that early Queen stuff. But when I found the blues, man, there was almost this thing kind of woke up inside, like that had lived there forever, you know, since before I was born or something. And then when I found Muddy Waters, man, and when I really found Muddy Waters, like the second coming, it must have been about 6-7 years ago, that I sat down and properly listened to Fathers and Sons, which is my favorite album in all the world.
It's unbelievable. Came out as a double, partly live, partly studio, double album, and then the CD, just a CD. And it's celebrating its, as I understand, 50th anniversary, I believe. From
last year, man, because we toured it. And we did the Fathers and Sons tour with the papal blessing of the Morganfield family, man. Yeah, we know Joe is his youngest son, and I messaged him because, I mean, I'll be honest, I think we were probably going to do it anyway. But it was
harkening
nice
back to your ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, exactly.
It's the way we see how you roll.
Yeah, for sure, you know. And he sent me a message basically saying if I was going to trust anyone to do it, it's you. And I was like, oh Christ, you know. And then I wanted an excuse to tour it, and when I found out it was 50 years old, we went and learned a bunch of the tracks. So we didn't do the full thing. Maybe one day I will. But yeah, and that was one of the tracks that stuck around in the live set, 24 Hours, because it just, I think the way we play it as well, it builds a little more than Mud. I think we play probably more like the Butterfield Blues Band that approach it. And of course, Butterfield played harp on that whole record, you know, and it was basically that band that backed him, I think, apart from Donald Duck Dunn, who was the bass player.
You got Donald Duck Dunn, and you got Michael
Sam
Bloomfield out there, and then you Otis Spann. I mean, it's unbelievable lineup. I mean, killer.
Otis Spann, man. I mean, but yeah, I mean that whole album, man, is just. In fact, when we went into lockdown, my day would start coffee, and I'd listen to all the Fathers and Sons. And I go, right, okay, I can start the day now. All's
right with the world. It's not going to go. Well, I listened to it all today in the run up to the show, you know, just going, whoa. I mean, you just get immersed into it. So another one for you all to go out and buy, for sure.
I mean, our version of 24 Hours is good, but forget going and getting that. Go and listen to the one on Fathers and Sons. It's far better than ours.
Well, you're selling yourself too short. I love them both. They're different. You get them both. You know, come on, y'all. You're not going to music venues now, so you can go spend.
Yeah, what are you spending your money on? You know?
Exactly.
How expensive are drugs these days?
They can do both. Well, I think we ought to cue up. Now, this is another Headhunters Blues Band song. This comes off your debut, Back to the Delta album. Who's Coming Down the Road? Let's hear a little bit of that if we could, fellas.
Look, oh yonder, coming down that road. Oh, Lana, baby, but you walk too slow, crying. Look, oh yonder, who's coming down that road? Well, she looked like my baby, but you
British Blues in Britain magazine said, "This is a brilliant album. They have created a very special feel to the blues they play. Back from the Delta is an album of songs from the Delta Blues treasure trove, lovingly overlaid with generous coating of Chicago-style gloss. This is a very impressive interpretation of the blues spectrum. You need to catch them live when we're back live again." And then Paul Wynn of Blues Radio echoed those comments with his comment, "This is an absolute class album." And then you got high praise from Muddy's son, Mud Morganfield, who commented he loved the slide work. Very cool.
Yeah, that was the labour of love, that record, man. Because the funny thing with the Headhunters was it was kind of never really supposed to be a band. Jess was my wonderful better half.
Who you're engaged to in 2017, as of 2017.
Yes, yeah.
Just want to keep reminding you of that, Johnny.
Yeah, I remember. It was incredibly romantic as well, man. I'm quite a romantic. But that she was working in a bar, man, and they wanted to put on a jam night, and I said, the city's got 100 jam nights. I'm never really overly impressed by them. It tends to just be people getting up and pretending they're Van Halen. It doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Why don't we put a blues band together, and then we'll have like invited guests, and they can come and get up and have a jam on specific songs.
Yeah.
Like we'll say, listen, you come and get up and play Hoochie Coochie Man or something,
Yeah.
and then it kind of just developed into like that. The original lineup, none of the members are still there, if you know what I mean. Like people came and went, and then by the time we had a really solid lineup, I said, me and the guitar player were like, we should make a record, man. This is cool, this is a cooking band. We should make a record, and I'd always wanted to make a blues record, but I thought it was probably going to be one of those things I did way in the future.
Yeah.
And I am of the opinion that I'm not qualified to write blues. I'd only be kind of assimilating something that someone had done better than me. I can write rock and roll all day long. I can pour all my heart out, and writing rock and roll songs, it's cheaper than therapy. But with the blues, man, I think I kind of see the blues as almost like a time period, and I said, well, why don't we, instead of trying to write stuff that sounds roughly like a Chicago blues song, because I just want to play Chicago stuff, with a bit of Memphis stuff thrown in.
Yeah.
So why don't we go and do what all those great blues guys did in Chicago, which is just go back to the Delta and bring some of that stuff forward. So the idea then, it was like, it's a concept album essentially.
Yeah.
Was that if the Paul Butterfield Blues Band had made another album after Fathers and Sons that wasn't like, or if Muddy had kind of stuck around and done another like Fathers and Sons 2, what would that have sounded like with some of like the real forgotten stuff, like Who's Coming Down the Road, I think is a Petey Wheatstraw song. There's probably some blues purist somewhere pounding his fist. No, it was Sleepy John Estes. Petey Wheatstraw or Little At Jones or something like that. And these guys we'd never heard of. Me and the guitar player sat in my old flat for hours and hours and hours on end. Like Jess would go to work, she works in a bar. She'd go to work at 5 p.m. She'd come back at 4 a.m. Like, are you guys still here? Like, there's an empty pizza box on the floor, empty coffee cartons all over the place.
Yeah.
And we just sat going, oh, that one would be really cool with this kind of vibe. And then the guitar player would grab the guitar and he'd noodle around and he'd make a note. And then I'd say, I like the way that verse changes there. And then we'd mash songs together. And then we recorded it all live, apart from the harp, because much to the pleasure of the people around me, I've only got one mouth. So I'd do the vocal live with the band, and then I'd lay the harp straight afterwards. So it was as live as it could possibly be, because I think anyone who's going in and recording blues songs in layers is, whatever they're smoking isn't worth talking about. It's just not how it should be done at all.
And the name Headhunters, you're not hearkening back to Herbie Hancock. I
no. Although people do ask that again, it's a Muddy Waters reference. Muddy back in the day they were called the All-Star Trio. It was Muddy Waters, Jimmy Rogers, and Little Walter.
Yeah.
But they were so good that people nicknamed them the Headhunters, because they would go play places, and then because they were that good, that whoever was playing at the time would just be told they'd lost their gig. I mean,
Oh, hence
who-
they were hunting. I
who
mean, they
wouldn't,
were.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, right.
Yes, yeah, they were cutting heads, you know.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't lose their gig to
Right,
Muddy
right,
Waters,
right,
Jimmy
right.
Rogers, and Little Walter?
Right.
So I was like, that's a really cool name. We'll just take it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's just that's all. It's just a tip to the hat to
yeah.
that Chicago
I
sound.
love it.
think
I
that's
love
what
it.
we're going for. Yeah.
You know, and it's so, I find it just so fascinating. We were talking about in the run up to the show how, you know, in the late 60s, the blues in the United States was going out of favor and R&B was coming into favor. And then all those albums were getting shipped over to Liverpool, right? Because it's a port city. And then getting picked up by the Peter Greens and the Claptons and Zeppelin and the Stones and then sent right back to us. People are going, oh, well, you know, oh, that's the Stones. Look at, you know, that's great music. And then you drill down and the genesis is the Delta in Chicago. Just crazy.
Yeah, man, yeah. Because that's, I think as well, for the first album, I wanted it to start at the beginning, if you like,
Yeah.
you know, like start. And so the second album, kind of, The Great Migration, the idea was that it was going to be songs from guys who'd come from the South and gone
Mm-hmm.
to Chicago or gone to Memphis or
yeah.
wherever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if all of those songs are, but that was the kind of rough idea, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? I was in the studio last night actually kicking around some stuff, but we're gonna make another album.
The
Headhunters
Headhunters are going to make another one.
Yeah. I'll never get tired of making blues records.
Yeah.
Man. It's a lot of fun, you know. And it is my kind of my go-to. You know, I was listening to Otis Rush before it came on air, and So I think we've got a kind of a tour booked-ish for February.
Yeah.
Hopefully it happens, you know.
Right.
But if
Please,
we're going on the road,
Yeah.
we need something to tour. And I think it's going to be an album of kind of live favorites that we play and some stuff that we're going to give that kind of first record idea of pull it apart and put it back together as a Chicago sound, you know.
Well, this hour has just flown by, and I'd be remiss if we didn't get to one of your skill sets is just a soloist. So you've got you got two bands, and then you got and we're going to do Right by Your Woman, a brilliant Paul Rogers tune that you do solo. And then we got this in a video format. So Otis, if we could, and I got to give a shout out to Otis who put together that montage. Jonnie sent us the pics, and so when we were playing the MP3s, that montage was done by Otis. So thanks, Otis. Let's hear a little "Do Right by Your Woman," and then we're going to talk more with Jonnie.
This is a tune called "Do Right by Your Woman" by Bad Company. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Well, you always gave me loving, though I treated you so bad. I changed my mind about wasting your time, spending money and drinking wine. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Well, you always loved the loser, but it's different for me now. I changed my plan, I'm gonna be a better man. I tell you so you understand. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you. Do right by your woman, she'll do right by you.
You are back on Ride the Vibe with Jonnie Hodson, Harpo, Reverend Slackjaw, and one more shout out from Dave Fizell, jazz MC and Mercy radio presenter, said the Headhunters are not only the best blues band in Liverpool, they're the best band in the country. It won't take long for the rest of the country to figure that out. and for those of us in the United States. So go out
I
and
must
buy
owe
some.
Dave some money or something.
Yeah, maybe so. And I'm looking at my notes, and who's coming down the road? I've got in my notes was a Kansas Joe McCoy tune. Would that be correct?
There you go, Kansas Joe. Yeah. We dug so deep into that stuff, man. That Little Hat Jones, Kansas Joe McCoy, Petey Wheatstraw. There was all these guys I'd never heard of.
Yeah, right.
And so yeah, Kansas Joe, man. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And we do it pretty much how he does it. We just put a rhythm section behind it, you know. Great. Some of that stuff from the Library Congress recordings is brilliant, man. Absolutely.
So as we just wrap up, Jonnie, talk about how you balance your relationship with Jessica, 2 bands, solo stuff. I mean, you got a lot going on.
With great care.
Brilliantly said.
You know what? It's tough, man. It's because I'm still just about in a job, as well as doing all this.
You mean one of those day job things where you got the man?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But you know, man, it's I kind of forgot coming out of lockdown. I'd forgotten just how busy I am all the time. So I had like a kind of 17-week period of just to unplug and kind of go, oh, is this what normal people do? Is it, like it's just sitting down for more than an hour at a time, you know? But yeah, I think I do the like all the kind of booking agent stuff and the management stuff for the Headhunters.
Yeah.
So it all kind of it sits together really nicely. And one kind of helps to fuel the other as well, because people go, which band do you prefer?
Yeah.
And I go, well, it's just like saying which kid you prefer.
Right, right.
We've got 2 kids. And if I was just in a blues band, I'd go crazy because I want to write songs. But if I was writing songs, I'd go crazy because I wasn't playing the blues.
So you're best to have both outlets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I try and bring presents home from tours, and we go, we'll go for a weekend
Jessica
away or
happy.
something. Yeah.
So is it the bandmates and both bands they're accommodating?
Yeah. I mean, it's odd, really. The twain don't meet very often, but if we're down south and with the Headhunters, Aaron will always come up and have a jam.
Yeah.
Because he loves the blues. Otherwise, we wouldn't be friends.
You hear that, Aaron? So don't give up on the blues, or you'll be.
Oh, he knows, man.
Yeah, he'll be out of Johnny's life.
He knows, man.
Well, we are unbelievably out of time. I mean, the hour has flown by, and I just have to say, thank you so much, and a shout out to Everton Football Club.
Yes, man, up the Toffees.
Forget those Reds, that other team. There's some other team in Liverpool. I don't know who they are, but
Everton Reserves.
Reserves. Well, Jonnie, it's been a gas. We hope to see you in the States. Well. Any parting comment or thought that you want to share with your legion of fans?
Oh, be beautiful to each other.
Amen.
Yeah, I think that'll do.
Yeah, that'll do. Be beautiful to each other. I love it. Jonnie, thank you so much for staying up late in your sweet spot in the midnight hour.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
God bless. See ya.
You too, brother.
Peace.
But it's not too late to set the record straight. Better get her done, son, 'cause the hour is growing late. Maybe